Sweden has built a strong reputation for comfortable and stylish long-distance trains, with excellent trains like the X2000 in their fleet. But within this fleet, one train stands out for all the wrong reasons. This is the X40, a regional train that for years has been used to operate journeys far longer than it was ever designed for. Known for its disappointing first class, very limited onboard amenities and a cramped interior. But that might finally change, as SJ has begun a major refurbishment program, giving these trains a striking new livery and completely overhauling the interior. So the big question is, has the X40 finally been brought up to the same standard as Sweden's other long-distance trains? Let's find out today, as I take an intercity service from Linköping up to Gävle. Good morning from here in Linköping in Sweden, where today we are going to be catching one of the newly refurbished X40 trains. These trains have kinda a bad reputation in Sweden, being kinda cramped and probably the worst ones for long distance travel. So I'm excited today to bring you along for the journey and see what they have done to this train in the refurbishment program. Let's head inside the station. We start our journey here at the red and yellow main station in Linköping. Opening in 1872, the small but pretty station building has been here ever since, with a modern day extension being added towards the side facing the bus terminal. It's a cold December morning, so let's waste no time in heading inside the station building. Inside the station there's a small waiting area, complete with the almost mandatory espresso house and Pressbyrån stores. Alongside a small corridor with a few more facilities. But the best feature of the station today has to be that the heating was turned on. Also, make sure not to miss the beautiful chandelier hanging by the main entrance. A quick look at the departure board tells us our train will be departing in about 1 hour from track number 4. So we got some time to check out the other train traffic here at the station. And you might already have seen it, there's an X40 over on the other platform. This is one of the unrefurbished units featuring SJ's older, mostly silver livery and just 2 carriages. And actually, it's really good kind of for the video today that one of these 2-carriage unrefurbished versions of the X40 is here today. Not only so I can show you what it looks like in comparison to the 3-carriage one that's been refurbished, but also because we can talk a bit about the refurbishment program. So right now they're only planning to refurbish the 3-carriage version of this train, so the future for these 2-carriage ones are actually a bit uncertain. However, it should be mentioned that SJ does have an option to refurbish them after they're done with the 3-carriage ones, so we'll see what ends up happening with them in the future. But for now, it looks like the baby double-decker could be heading for retirement in a not too distant future. Linköping sits on the busy southern main line between Stockholm and Malmö, and is one of the stations in Sweden that sees the most different train operators. SJ runs the majority of long-distance train traffic, with many departures using their iconic X2000 trains on the flagship route between Stockholm and Malmö. Just like the X40, these trains are also currently undergoing a major refurbishment program, with the unrefurbished trains still spotting SJ's older silver livery. In addition to SJ's trains, the station is also served by Mälartåg, providing longer distance regional services in the regions surrounding Stockholm, with Östergötatrafiken mostly filling in the gap for regional services within the Östergötland region. And as a Danish rail enthusiast, I can't come to Linköping and not tell you about the line down to Kalmar, which uses Danish IC3 trains. Although these are set to be replaced very soon by some new bi-mode trains from CIF. Right, and as that unrefurbished shorter X40 goes off to Gävle also, our train should be arriving in just a couple of minutes. And here the train comes, having worked the first southbound service of the day from Luchdale. You can already tell a huge difference visually between this brand new version of the X40 and the older one we just saw depart. The X40 is a series of multiple units built between 2004 and 8 by Alstom and is capable of 200 km per hour. A total of 43 units were built, with 27 of them being the longer 3-carriage variant. When these trains were first introduced, they suffered quite badly with reliability issues, getting them the nickname Flodhest or Hippo because of their big, grey and unpredictable appearance. These trains were originally purchased and fitted with an interior mostly designed for regional services in and out of the greater Stockholm area. But in more recent times, these trains have been redeployed to work much longer services, such as this 3.5-hour intercity trip to Gävle we'll be catching. And it's exactly the lack of onboard amenities and the poor first-class offering on board that has caused the controversy around these trains. So, I'm excited to be heading on board and checking out if SJ has addressed some of this with the new refurbishment. First class is found on the upper deck of carriage number 1, and the first thing we can see is that it is still in the same disappointing and non-standard 2+2 layout, which is largely identical to second class. We'll take a proper look around the entire train later in the video, but you tell me if you can spot the difference between first and second class. Apart from that, my first impressions are good. The mostly grey design with just a touch of color and wood paneling is stylish and understated, yet feels cozy at the same time. Another great thing about the X40, unlike most other double-decker trains, is that the overhead racks are actually large enough to take a regular sized backpack. Definitely a little disappointing to see that they didn't take this refurbishment as an opportunity to finally make first class different, at least in some sort of way. But that's how it is. Let's see how it rides. I should mention that one small change was actually made to first class, but we'll have to get into that later in the video, as for now we are departing Linköping Centralstation on time at 10:29. And with our journey now underway, let's take a closer look at the route we'll be traveling along today. This is Intercity Train 272. Leaving from Linköping, we'll be making a few intermediate stops heading via Stockholm on this 403km long journey to Gävle. The trip is scheduled to take 3 hours and 27 minutes, giving the train an average speed of 117 km per hour. Not long after departure, our train quickly gets up to speed, easily beating the cars on the road. Well, looks like I was the only one fooled by first class today, as I'm the only one on board right now. Well, now I'm alone here in first class, let me show you around a bit. First of all, on double-decker trains, the headroom is a bit... it's okay, especially considering I'm 187 centimeters tall. There's really not much to first class. Like, you have a few of these overflow benches, which cannot be reserved in advance. Then you got all the seating, which is in a slightly non-standard 2+2 layout for first class. Surprisingly large overhead racks. Like, normally you can barely fit a laptop bag up on these on a double-decker train. And then, because obviously these do intercity work, and double-decker trains are quite bad for luggage generally, on this end you got lots of, like, I don't know what to call them, like metal compartments to store your luggage safely. Overall, it's comfortable and spacious, but it really does feel like a wasted opportunity not to have done something more with the mostly unused bench seating area. You could easily have made space for a small complimentary self-service counter here, like on every other SJ intercity or high-speed train. I mean, even the local-hauled regional train services have this in first class. Yeah, it's only water and a small snack sometimes, but regional is supposedly a tier below intercity, and it's got better seats too. It just seems so strange to me that every other train in SJ's fleet has something that differentiates first and second class, both in terms of the hard and soft product, but on the X40 they just couldn't be bothered. We are now calling at Norrköping, our first intermediate stop, which is a city home to about 100,000 people, making it somewhere around the 10th largest in Sweden. Despite this, it is actually one of just 3 cities in Sweden to still have a tram system, after Stockholm and Gothenburg. And as our train now accelerates up towards its maximum speed of 200 km per hour, let's take a closer look at the seats here in first class, and the only feature that sets them apart from second class. The seats themselves are actually rather nice. They got a slightly winged and well padded headrest, and the actual seat itself also features a good amount of padding. I found it comfortable without it being anything exceptional. The seat is equipped with all the standard amenities like power between the seats themselves, as well as a reading light. A large tray table can be deployed from the seat back in front, which also features a handy storage pocket. The large curved windows are also equipped with a window blind, and in the seat in front you'll find a coat hook. For extra comfort, the seat can be reclined into an enhanced relaxation position, which I found very comfortable. And this is also where the only difference between the first and second class seats may be noticeable, as during the refurbishment the first class seats did gain a few extra centimeters of legroom. I think the best way to describe these seats is that they are an excellent second class product, but in first class they remain disappointing, especially compared to the rest of SJ's otherwise excellent fleet. Our train is now approaching Katrineholm, where we join with the Western Main Line from Gothenburg. This stretch of railway line onwards to Stockholm is one of Sweden's busiest and most important, carrying the combined traffic of the Southern and Western Main Lines all the way to the capital. Not too long afterwards we make our next scheduled stop in Södertälje Syd, which is one of Sweden's most interesting stations, being built high above the ground on a 2-kilometer long bridge that takes the railway across the Hals Fjord. With our crossing of the river now complete, we are hastily approaching Stockholm, running smoothly at the train's maximum speed of 200 km per hour. We slow down just before the city centre to call at Flemingsberg, a busy commuter station in the south of Stockholm, an important transfer point to the SL Pendeltåg, which is Stockholm's commuter railway network. We fly past the train depot in Årsta, catching a glimpse of this beautiful heritage train parked among its modern replacements. Shortly afterwards we cross over the Årsta bridges and dive below ground to be taken right into the heart of Stockholm, where we call at the main station just a couple of moments later. Stockholm Central Station is the busiest in Sweden and is the heart of the Swedish passenger railway network. Our train has an extended stop here to allow for a crew change, as well as the train's many passengers to get on and off. We depart Stockholm again on time at 12:32, with about an hour and 20 minutes of travel time left before we'll reach Gävle. We are now heading for Arlanda Airport, the main airport serving Stockholm, travelling along the Arlanda Railway. The railway here was built as a public-private partnership, giving a private company a lot of control over the railway line, which has resulted in passengers travelling to the airport by any other train than the privately owned and operated Arlanda Express being hit with a €14 station usage fee. So yeah, that's why booking a train ticket to Stockholm Airport on an SJ train will always be more expensive than getting the same train to either Stockholm Central or our next station stop, Uppsala. And before we get to Uppsala, let's have a closer look around the train's interior. On the lower deck of the carriage where first class is located is also where you'll find the train's accessible area. Down here there's a few seats, luggage racks, as well as tons of these folding seats, which are quite annoying to walk past when they are deployed. I can imagine as a wheelchair user, if you have to use the toilet while these are deployed, it must be embarrassing to ask like 10 people to move. But on the other hand, it's also nice to have the extra seating capacity when it's not needed for a wheelchair user to move to the toilet. The rest of the train is second class, and as you can see, the seats are the same as in first class, with the layout being nearly identical in the upper deck in second class in the two other carriages. Overall, I find the new interior is pleasant. The seats are comfortable, there's good provision for luggage with the installation of plenty of racks, although there are still a few of these random fold-out seats throughout the train that strike me as a bit odd. I also really like the new passenger information screens. They are high quality, very simple and easy to understand. By the doors connecting the train carriages, you'll find the regular toilets. And to my surprise, despite the train's recent refurbishment, there seemed to be some kind of issue with how the door closes, meaning you have to pull quite hard in order to actually lock it. Hopefully it's just an issue with this particular train and not a general problem. But apart from that, the water was working without issue, there was plenty of toilet paper and paper tissues, and the flushing mechanism was working without issue. So, a thumbs up from me. Back at my seat, we are now calling at Uppsala, Sweden's fourth largest city, which is particularly well known for having the oldest university in Scandinavia. And as we now continue our journey heading north, let me tell you some more about the train's refurbishment program. SJ started refurbishing the X40 in 2024, with all 27 3-carriage units set to be completed by 2028. The work is being done by Finnish VR Fleet Care at their facilities in Oulu and Pieksämäki. After that, SJ does have the option to continue the program and refurbish the remaining 2-carriage units, but it is currently speculated that they may instead be retired, due to their low capacity and much of Swedish regional train traffic now being operated directly by the local and regional authorities. As we are now hastily approaching the end of our journey, I should also mention the Wi-Fi on board. Not only was this super easy to connect to and free, it was also insanely fast, like I've never seen so fast Wi-Fi on a train before. And after a brief stop in Tierp, we are now on the home stretch to Gävle. So let me start summarizing my overall thoughts. So, in about 15 minutes we should be arriving into Gävle after what's been a comfortable journey on board this refurbished X40. I think SJ have done a great job refurbishing these trains, and the new brand identity really makes the train feel like cozy and warm. Really like the color choices and everything. It's just a shame there's really no difference in first class, but these are used on secondary routes and usually on them the price difference is very small, so I guess it's okay after all. The only criticism I really have is that it feels a little half-hearted and like a missed opportunity not to go all the way and equip them with a proper first-class product and a small catering offer. Now SJ are completely overhauling the trains anyway. Had these trains still mostly been used on short regional journeys, sure, fine, but one of the main uses for the train is this 3.5-hour intercity journey between some of Sweden's largest cities. And here the train really does not quite feel up to the same high standard as SJ's other long-distance trains. Prices on SJ Intercity vary based on the time of booking and demand, with the cheapest fares from Linköping to Gävle going for around 295 Swedish kronor, with first class usually starting at around 40 kronor on top of that, but this can also vary based on demand. In the end, our train pulls into Gävle a couple of minutes ahead of schedule after what's been overall a comfortable journey. But I'm sure I would have felt a lot more disappointed if I specifically had not booked first class to show you that it's still a complete rip-off, even after the refurbishment. Thanks for joining me in this video today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss my uploads. If you want to give the channel a little extra support, consider joining the membership program. For just a couple of euros every month, you get early access to all my videos as well as exclusive travel updates. Thanks for watching.